Well, we'll have a little quiz today, an easy one. I haven't done that in a long time. And I felt, maybe a little exercise will be good. We can get our arms up. So I promise it's very non-controversial. So the first question, have you ever been frustrated when on the computer you see that little spinning circle telling you that it's going to take some time before that page loads or reloads? Have you ever been frustrated with that? Yeah, it drives me crazy. And suppose that little spinning wheel really is to tell us it's going to take some time. Be patient. Second one, have you ever become irritated in line when you see that the regular line, which you are not in, is going faster than the express line? Has it ever happened to you? It happened to me, or when the people walking into the restaurant and walk out with the food and you're still waiting in the drive-thru to put your order, Another indicator that sometimes things take time, huh? They take time. How about this? Have you ever been annoyed? In the last year, I think we've all started to shop online. I've never shopped online. I still avoid it, but, try to support our local businesses. But we've all given into shopping online. Have you ever been annoyed when you've gone through the whole thing, you picked out the item, you paid for it all, and then within moments of ordering it, you get an email to say that it's on back order? Doesn't that drive you crazy? I just happened this week, something I ordered 2 weeks ago, I got an email, now it's going to be June. They didn't say what year, I guess, but, because things take time, don't they? Little lesson, things take time. One more. Has it ever happened to you that you're on your cell phone in a conversation and all of a sudden the cell phone goes dead because you've gone out of service, you have no more bars, huh? Somehow you went into that little zone where the phone would not work. And then you're roaming around trying to find where can you stand exactly so you can try to pick that call back up. Has that happened to you? It's happened to me. It drives me crazy. And again, I think it's a reminder of patience, reminder sometimes that things take time. If you really think for a moment, we've become very well trained to be instant and quick. We want what we want and we want it now. We've become well trained in that in our society today, I believe. Well, if you take all that to the readings today remind us that God's plan also takes time. Sometimes we maybe become impatient with that plan of the Lord. And we see then the prophet Jeremiah. Jeremiah is reminding the people back then when he first spoke, and certainly reminding you and me now that God does have a master plan. And it's going to require our patience. And it's going to take time. What do we hear in the very beginning? The days are coming, says the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel. Of course, that new and everlasting covenant took some thousands of years after Jeremiah spoke. It took time. But Jeremiah and his people, they were part of God's plan and place and time. Jesus was sent in time, part of the Father's mission. And you and I, some 2,000 years later, we're also in place and time, part of the unfolding mission of the Lord. The gospel points us to the same thing, the process of suffering and death prior to a new life being established and glory therein. Death to self is a long and painful process. Just as the grain of wheat must fall to the ground and die, it remains just a grain of wheat, but if it dies, it produces much fruit. We're reminded that it's a painful process to die to self. That's really the meaning of Lent, for us to grow in a greater way, to die to self, be patient with that process. And to see as we die to self, ultimately we're planting seeds of faith in the world today, in this place and time. We need that patience, and we need time. The readings not only talk about patience and the process of time, they also talk about hope. You know, Jeremiah is giving hope to the Jewish people. Savior is going to come. God is going to take care of you. He's giving hope to people who are a bit maybe frustrated or downtrodden or concerned. And the letter to the Hebrews also giving hope, reminding that Jesus himself offered prayer and supplication while he was here on earth. Jesus is hope. And the author of Hebrews is telling the Hebrew people that Jesus himself begged and implored God, and so too we must do the same. We beg, we implore God just as Jesus did, and we have that hope. The gospel gives hope back to that grain of wheat that as we die to self and we plant those seeds, we are going to see new life grow, and we become really that instrument of hope, maybe in the lives of others, or certainly in God's plan of salvation. Hope, time, and patience, huh? Well, hope, you know, is the one-word theme of Catholic Charities this year. And I would like to share a few thoughts with you about Catholic Charities. Part of Lent, of course, prayer, yes, going to confession, penance, yes, fasting, but also almsgiving. And for us in the diocese, of course, the time that we have the Catholic Charities appeal. And up there you've got where we were last year. You know, last year as a parish family, collectively we gave over $500,000, $559,039 collected from 1,278 individuals or families of St. Gregory. So that 1,278 individuals collectively over $500,000, which averages out, even under the new math, $437 was the average gift. Tremendous generosity. And I thank you for that on behalf of Catholic Charities and the people who've been served by Catholic Charities. You know, those who gave, you are that grain of wheat being willing to die and fall to the ground so that others might live. Jesus, of course, is the grain of wheat who died so that we may have life, but in his name we die to self, we give things up. And I'm sure for everyone who donated, you could have had other things to do with that money, but you chose to sacrifice. And in so doing, you helped. Well, what was some of that new wheat that grew up? Well, if you think for a moment, hopefully the slide is up there, or will be in a second. There it is. There's the broad strokes of what your donations have done. Children's services, food pantries, senior services, the Ladies of Charity, Monsignor Carr Institute, which offers counseling services, job and education readiness, meaning training programs, basic and emergency assistance for individuals, families who need help immediately, if it be food or rent or some other emergency, immigration and refugee assistance, and marriage counseling, the broad strokes. That is some of the new grain that grew in this last year because of your sacrifice. Catholic Charities is not just about giving to perhaps the poorer areas or the inner city. Sometimes I fear we think that way. It's, you know, us helping the poor people in the inner city or some poor area. But we help our own people right here at St. Gregory the Great. 1,215 individuals or families were served right from our parish of St. Gregory the Great, or our immediate geography, parish boundaries. And I kind of put that in comparison. We had 1,278 donors. We had 1,215 recipients. It's almost 1-to-1. And 676 of those 1,215 people who were served were young people under the age of 18. I find that a bit troubling myself. Half, a little bit better than half, were young people who have many problems. They be in need of counseling or other assistance. And you know, Catholic Charities, in addition to being what I just said and what we know, it's also the Fund for the Faith. Now, I'm not going to ask if any of you remember Bishop Duffy, but we probably at least remember his name. Bishop Duffy, back in 1937, coming out of the Depression, Bishop Duffy established the Fund for the Faith. And every year, the Fund for the Faith in Catholic Charities is one united appeal. Sometimes we forget that. And so this is nothing new, the Fund for the Faith. It is something that's been around for a long time. And the Fund for the Faith really serves many of the ministries and provides all of the ministries for our diocese. And you have a list of them up there. Campus ministry, in our colleges, universities, funded by the Fund for the Faith. Funding for some Catholic education in poorer areas. Communications work of the diocese. The Office of Cultural Diversity for the diocese. Ministry to the deaf. The Diocesan Counseling Center for church ministers. Diocesan and parish spiritual renewal programs. We just consecrated ourselves to St. Joseph. All of those little things that maybe we take for granted, they come from individuals funded by our support of the Fund for the Faith to provide all of these moments and opportunities of renewal. The formation of priests and deacons. Christ the King Seminary really closed. The last graduating class will graduate this year. The fourth-year men are allowed to stay to finish that year. Majority of our seminarians now at St. Mary's in Baltimore. The Fund for the Faith helps pay for their tuition. When I was in the seminary, my parents paid for the tuition. But now, the least we can do is help pay for the tuition for these men giving their lives. The same for our permanent deacons. The Gianna Mola Center, which is reach out for people who are pregnant or young families in need of assistance for their children. Hospital chaplaincies. Marriage preparation. The Mother Teresa Home is a home on the east side of Buffalo. The St. Adalbert's Parish, the old rectory, has been turned into a home for pregnant women who have nowhere to live. And through your gift, these women are given this place to live. We see to their medical needs. The babies are born. While they are living there, they're being given job training skills, and we help them find jobs so they can take care of themselves and their children, all through your generosity. The pro-life office of the diocese and all of our pro-life events that we sponsor, as well as the vicar for priests, the one who kind of oversees us and helps priests when we have a need. That's the Fund for the Faith. And so, give you a little snapshot. I'm a numbers guy, and a little snapshot of everything. 571,000 people were served by the Fund for the Faith last year. 250 plus sites where services took place, and 14 different ministries we just mentioned. And if you put the Fund for the Faith along with Catholic Charities, you have quite a bit of work being done. From Catholic Charities, you've got 149,000 served in the year 2020. Erie County, the largest chunk, 105,000 plus all the other counties listed there. And real numbers, basic emergency assistance, food pantries, over 34,000 taken care of. Education, vocation, advancement services, over 3,000. Family safety and stabilization services, many families are in such crisis, over 86,000 served. Immigration and refugee assistance, 107. Mental health and substance abuse treatment, substance abuse continues to be huge. We don't hear about the opioid crisis like we used to, but it still exists. Over 12,000 served. And youth and family support services, again, over 12,000. That gives you a little picture of the new grains of wheat that was provided this past year. And I invite you to consider donating to Catholic Charities and the Fund for the Faith. If you've already made your donation, I do thank you very sincerely. And, we only had a little over 1,200 donors last year from St. Greg's, but we're a parish of 6,300 families. So there are some who do not belong to the Catholic Charities family by way of donation. I really appeal to you to really consider making a donation. You can do that online at www.ccwny. Real easy to remember, Catholic Charities, Western New York, ccwny.org. You can make your donation directly online, but just make sure you note that you're from St. Greg's so we get credit, for our aggregate toll. And you can also call the parish office if you've not received a card in the mail. We'll gladly mail you one so you can handle a donation through the mail. Today, just remember, we are all part of place and time, and we're all part of God's plan unfolding right here, right now. And we're called to be like Jesus, to sacrifice, to die to self, to allow part of us to be given away so that others may be able to grow stronger, not only in the faith, but also to grow stronger in their personal daily life. We thank you for your generous donation, and we thank you for supporting both Catholic Charities and the Fund for the Faith. And on that donation, you get to mark where you want your money to go, what ratio. And so we encourage you to support both of these beautiful treasures of service in the Diocese of Buffalo.